Everyone keeps telling me I should have kept my mouth shut, that some thoughts are meant to stay inside your head, that not everything needs to be said out loud, that there's a difference between brutal honesty and just being brutal. But I've never been good at filtering myself. I say what I think, I speak my truth, and apparently, speaking my truth has cost me everything. But let me be clear from the start. I didn't mean it the way everyone took it. Context matters. Tone matters. The circumstances under which words are spoken matter. And nobody seems to care about any of that. They just heard what I said, made assumptions about what I meant, and decided I was the villain. I'm not the villain. I'm just someone who made one comment during a moment of frustration, and now my entire life is falling apart because my husband decided to take that comment and weaponize it in the most humiliating way possible. So, before everyone judges me, before you decide I'm some terrible person who doesn't deserve sympathy, let me explain what actually happened. Let me give you the full context that everyone else seems determined to ignore. Before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit hype to boost this episode. Drop a comment below with your city or country. I'm always curious where viewers are joining from. My name is Rachel. I've been married to Michael for 6 years. We met through mutual friends at a party, hit it off immediately, dated for 2 years before getting engaged. Everything moved fast, but it felt right. Michael was stable, successful, attractive enough. He worked in software development, made good money, had his life together. He was the kind of man you're supposed to marry. His family seemed great at first. His parents were warm and welcoming. His younger sister, Claire, was friendly and enthusiastic about having a new sister-in-law. Everything seemed perfect. The problems started slowly. So slowly, I didn't even notice them at first. Claire was around a lot. Like, a lot. She'd come over for dinner multiple times a week. She'd call Michael constantly to ask his advice about things. She'd show up unannounced on weekends to hang out. Michael never seemed bothered by this. He'd just smile and say that's what family does. They stay close. They support each other. They maintain relationships. I tried to be understanding. I tried to be the cool wife who didn't get jealous or territorial about her husband's time. I tried to embrace Claire as the sister I'd never had, but after a few years, it started to wear on me. Every vacation we planned, Claire wanted to come along. Every holiday, we had to structure our plans around Claire's schedule. Every major decision we made, Michael wanted Claire's input. She wasn't just his sister, she was practically a third person in our marriage. And the thing is, Claire is objectively wonderful. She's smart, funny, successful in her own right. She works as a marketing director for some big company. She's got this effortless charm that makes everyone love her immediately. She's the kind of person who walks into a room and people gravitate toward her, including my husband. I watched Michael light up around Claire in ways he never lit up around me. I watched him laugh at her jokes more genuinely than he laughed at mine. I watched him drop everything when she needed something, while my needs always seemed to come second. It was like I was competing with his sister for his attention, and I was losing. I brought this up to Michael a few times over the years, gently at first. Hey, do you think we could have one weekend without Claire coming over? Or I'd really like to plan a vacation that's just the two of us. He'd always agree in the moment, but then Claire would call with some crisis or some exciting news, and our plans would change to accommodate her, every single time. I started to resent her, not because she did anything wrong specifically, but because she represented everything I wasn't getting from Michael. His full attention, his enthusiasm, his prioritization. There were specific incidents that built up over time, like the time Michael and I had planned a romantic weekend getaway for our anniversary. We'd booked a cabin in the mountains, made dinner reservations, cleared our schedules. 2 days before we were supposed to leave, Claire called crying about a breakup. Michael immediately suggested she come with us to the cabin. She shouldn't be alone right now, he said. We can still have a nice weekend, just with Claire there too. "It's our anniversary," I protested. "Can't you stay with your parents for a few days?" "They're out of town." "Come on, Rachel. She's going through something. We can celebrate our anniversary any time." So Claire came with us. She cried the entire drive. She monopolized Michael's attention all weekend. Our romantic dinner became a therapy session for Claire's failed relationship. Our anniversary became about comforting his sister. I tried to be understanding. I tried to be sympathetic, but I spent that whole weekend feeling invisible. All the time I got a promotion at work, something I'd been working toward for 2 years. I came home excited to tell Michael, ready to celebrate. But when I walked in the door, Claire was already there. She'd just found out she made partner at her firm. Michael was opening champagne, ordering from her favorite restaurant, planning a celebration. "Oh, Rachel, you're home," he said distractedly. "Claire just got amazing news. We're celebrating tonight." "I got amazing news too," I said quietly. "I got the promotion." "That's great, babe. We can celebrate both things." But we didn't celebrate both things. We celebrated Claire. My promotion got a quick congratulations, and then the conversation went back to Claire's partnership. Her achievement was bigger, more impressive, more worthy of attention. I swallowed my disappointment and smiled through dinner. I pretended I didn't mind that my success was an afterthought. I acted like the understanding wife who was happy to share the spotlight. But inside, I was seething. These incidents piled up over the years. Birthdays where Claire's needs took precedence. Holidays where we couldn't travel because Claire wanted us nearby. Date nights that got cancelled because Claire needed Michael for something. Small moments, and big moments where I consistently came second, and Michael never seemed to notice. When I brought it up, he'd act confused. "Claire is family. Of course I'm going to be there for her. You'd do the same for your siblings." Except I wouldn't. I have a brother I barely talk to. We exchange birthday texts and see each other at major holidays, but we're not enmeshed in each other's lives the way Michael and Claire are. I couldn't understand the intensity of their relationship, the way they seemed to need constant contact and involvement in every aspect of each other's lives. "Your relationship with your sister isn't normal," I told Michael once, after Claire had invited herself on yet another vacation we'd planned. "There's nothing abnormal about siblings being close," he shot back. "Just because your family is distant doesn't mean mine has to be." That shut me down. I couldn't argue with that without sounding like I wanted to damage his family relationships. So I stayed quiet and let the resentment build. I started noticing things I hadn't paid attention to before. The way Michael's eyes would light up when Claire walked into a room. The way he'd laugh at her stories with genuine delight. The way he'd touch her arm when they talked, lean in close when she whispered something. Nothing inappropriate, but intimate in a way that made me uncomfortable. I started comparing myself to Claire constantly. She was prettier, more successful, more charming, more everything. And Michael clearly adored her, in a way he'd never quite adored me. I know how that sounds. I know it sounds like I was jealous of my husband's sister in some inappropriate way. But it wasn't about attraction or romance. It was about attention, about feeling valued, about wanting my husband to look at me the way he looked at her, with pride and interest and genuine engagement. My friends noticed it too. We'd all go out together sometimes, me, Michael, Claire, and a few other couples. Claire would tell a story and Michael would be completely focused on her, laughing at all the right moments, contributing details, making her the center of attention. "That's kind of weird, right?" my friend Jenny asked me once after one of these gatherings. "The way Michael is with his sister." "They're just close," I said automatically, defending him even though I agreed with her. "Yeah, but like, uncomfortably close. Like, he pays more attention to her than to you." "I know. Have you talked to him about it?" "He just says I'm jealous of his family relationships, that I'm trying to come between them." "Are you? Trying to come between them?" I thought about it. I don't know. I just want to feel like I matter as much as she does. Is that trying to come between them? Jenny didn't have an answer. The comment that destroyed everything happened 3 weeks ago. We were at Michael's parents' house for a family dinner. Nothing particularly special about the occasion, just one of the regular monthly gatherings that Michael's family insisted on maintaining. Claire had just gotten a major promotion at work. She was being made senior vice president of her division, a huge achievement for someone her age. Everyone was congratulating her, toasting her success, asking her questions about her new role and responsibilities. Michael was practically glowing with pride. He kept saying things like, "I always knew you'd make it to the top," and "You're going to be incredible in this role," and "I'm so proud of you, Claire." I sat at the table feeling like furniture, like I could disappear and nobody would notice I was gone. The conversation went on for at least 30 minutes. Claire's promotion, Claire's future plans, Claire's vision for her new department. Michael asked thoughtful questions. His parents beamed. Everyone was completely absorbed in Claire's success story. Then Claire mentioned her promotion party. Her company was throwing a celebration at some fancy venue downtown. She turned to Michael, her face bright with excitement. "You'll be there, right? I can't imagine celebrating this without you. You've been my biggest supporter through everything." "Of course I'll be there," Michael said immediately, without even glancing at me. "I wouldn't miss it for anything." My stomach dropped. "Michael, that's the same night as my work event. Remember? I told you about it last month." He looked at me blankly, like he'd completely forgotten. "The annual gala," I continued, "for my company. The one where they're recognizing the top performers and I'm getting an award. You said you'd come with me." Recognition dawned on his face, followed quickly by guilt, then by resolution. "Rachel, this is Claire's promotion party. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. My award is also a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I've never gotten this kind of recognition before, and you promised you'd be there. Can't you go without me? I'm sure your co-workers will understand. That's not the point. The point is, you made a commitment to me first, and now you're breaking it for Claire. Again." The table had gone quiet. Everyone was watching us, the tension suddenly thick enough to cut through. Michael's voice got tight. "This is Claire's celebration. It's important." "And mine isn't?" "That's not what I said. It's what you meant, though. It's what you always mean. Claire's things are important. Mine are inconvenient scheduling conflicts." Michael's mum tried to intervene, her voice artificially bright. "I'm sure you two can work out a compromise. Maybe Michael can stop by both events." "That's a great idea," Claire jumped in, looking uncomfortable. "Rachel, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize there was a conflict. Michael, you should go to Rachel's event. My party isn't that important." But I was past the point of being gracious, past the point of being understanding. 6 years of playing second fiddle to Claire had built up to this moment, and something in me snapped. "It's fine," I said, my voice sharp. "Michael should obviously go to Claire's party. He always chooses her anyway. He always has. Every single time. It's Claire first and me second." "Rachel, that's not fair," Michael said quietly, a warning in his tone. "Isn't it? When's the last time you prioritized me over your sister? When's the last time I came first in any decision you made?" Claire looked mortified. "Rachel, I really don't want to cause problems between you two. This is just a work party. Michael should absolutely go with you." "No, Claire, your promotion is important," I said, and I could hear my voice getting louder, could feel years of resentment pouring out in ways I couldn't control. "Everything about you is important. You're brilliant and accomplished and wonderful. We all know it. Michael reminds us constantly. Michael thinks you're absolutely perfect." "Rachel," Michael's voice held a clear warning now, but I couldn't stop. The words were coming out and I couldn't push them back down. "You know what? Sometimes I think I picked the wrong sibling. Maybe if I'd married Claire instead of you, Michael, I'd actually come first in someone's life for once." Complete silence. The kind of silence that feels like it has weight and texture. The kind of silence that presses on your eardrums, and makes you realize you've crossed a line you can never uncross. Everyone stared at me. Michael's parents looked shocked. Claire had gone pale, her mouth slightly open. Michael was staring at me with an expression I'd never seen before, hurt and anger, and something else. Betrayal, maybe, or the death of something that had been alive just moments before. "What did you just say?" Claire's voice was barely above a whisper. Reality crashed down on me. I heard my own words echoing in my head, realized how they sounded, how they'd been received. I just meant... I tried to backtrack, tried to explain, but I could see it was too late. I meant that Claire gets all of Michael's attention. She gets his enthusiasm and his time and his energy. I was just saying that maybe if I were more like Claire... "You said you should have married Claire instead of me." Michael's voice was ice cold, flat. "You said you picked the wrong sibling. That's what you said." "No, I was trying to make a point about how you treat her versus how you treat me. I wasn't saying I actually wanted to..." "Get out." Michael stood up from the table. "We're leaving. Now." "Michael, please, I didn't mean it the way it sounded." "Now, Rachel." I'd never heard that tone from him before. Never seen that expression on his face. His jaw was clenched so tight, I could see muscles jumping. His hands were fisted at his sides. He looked like he was barely holding himself together. I grabbed my purse with shaking hands. Nobody said goodbye to us. Nobody moved. They all just sat there in stunned silence as Michael and I walked out of his parents' house. The car ride home was the longest 20 minutes of my life. Michael gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles were white. I tried to apologize, tried to explain what I'd actually meant, but he wouldn't respond, wouldn't even acknowledge that I was speaking. "Michael, please talk to me. I'm sorry. I was frustrated and I said something horrible, but I didn't mean I wanted to be with Claire. You have to know that." Nothing, just silence and the sound of tires on pavement. I was trying to make a point about feeling invisible in my own marriage. I phrased it badly. I phrased it terribly. But you have to understand what I was actually trying to say. More silence. "Michael, please. Say something. Yell at me. Tell me I'm terrible. Just please acknowledge that I'm here and that I'm sorry." He pulled into our driveway, put the car in park and finally looked at me. His eyes were red. He'd been crying while driving, silently, and I hadn't even noticed. "I can't talk to you right now," he said, his voice rough. "I can't even look at you right now. You humiliated me in front of my entire family. You said..." His voice cracked. "You said you should have married my sister instead of me. Do you have any idea what that feels like?" "I'm sorry. I don't want to hear it. Not right now. I need space." He got out of the car and went straight to our bedroom. I heard the door close, heard the lock click. I stood in our living room, alone, replaying what had just happened. Replaying my words, hearing them the way everyone else had heard them. I picked the wrong sibling. It sounded like I regretted marrying Michael. Like I wished I'd chosen Claire instead. Like I had feelings for his sister that went beyond simple resentment. That wasn't what I'd meant, but that was absolutely what I'd said. I slept on the couch that night, and the next night, and the night after that. Michael went to work each day, came home, went directly to the bedroom and locked the door. We didn't speak, didn't eat meals together, lived in the same house like strangers. I tried everything. I left notes under the bedroom door apologizing and explaining. I sent long text messages trying to clarify what I'd meant. I made his favorite dinner and left it outside the bedroom. Nothing worked. He wouldn't engage with me at all. On day 3, his mother called. "Rachel, I think you need to understand how serious this is," she said, her voice cold. "What you said at dinner was completely unacceptable. You embarrassed Michael in front of his whole family. You suggested you had feelings for his sister. You disrespected your marriage and our family." "I didn't mean it that way," I said, tears streaming down my face. I was frustrated about always coming second to Claire. I was trying to make a point and I did it in the worst possible way. "The way you meant it doesn't matter. The way it sounded is what matters. and it sounded like you regret marrying my son. I don't regret it. I love Michael. I just want him to prioritize me sometimes. Maybe you should have thought about that before you humiliated him publicly. She hung up. On day 4, Claire showed up at our door. I opened it, immediately feeling defensive and guilty and scared all at once. Claire looked tired, like she hadn't been sleeping well either. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I let her in. She sat on our couch, and I sat in the chair across from her, feeling like I was about to face some kind of judgment. "Michael called me," Claire said. "He told me he's done. He wants a divorce. He can't be with someone who would say something like that about him, about us, in front of everyone." My heart stopped. "He said that?" "He did. He's hurt, Rachel. Really, really hurt. And I don't blame him. I know. I know I hurt him. I'm so sorry, Claire. I didn't mean—" "What did you mean?" Claire interrupted. "I need to understand. What were you actually trying to say when you said you picked the wrong sibling?" I took a shaky breath. "I meant that you get the best version of Michael, the version that's attentive and interested and present and engaged. I get whatever's left over after you've taken what you need from him. I was trying to say that maybe I'd be happier with that version of him, the version that shows up for you." Claire was quiet for a long time, processing. "Do you have romantic feelings for me, Rachel? Is that what you were confessing?" "What? No, God, no. That's not what I meant at all. Because Michael thinks that's what you were saying. He thinks you were admitting that you're attracted to me and that you regret choosing him over me. That's completely insane. I was talking about personality, about the way he treats you versus the way he treats me, about attention and prioritization, not about actual romantic interest in you." "But you said you picked the wrong sibling. That's a very specific statement. That's not just complaining about attention. That's suggesting you wish you'd made a different choice about who to marry." "I was being hyperbolic. I was exaggerating to make a point. A point that devastated your husband and humiliated him in front of his family." She wasn't wrong. There was no defending what I'd said, no context that made it acceptable. "I think there are things about our family dynamic you don't understand," Claire said after a moment. "Things that might help explain why Michael is the way he is with me." "Like what?" "Like the fact that I have lupus. Have you ever heard Michael mention that?" I stared at her. "No, nobody's ever mentioned that." I asked them not to. I didn't want to be treated differently. I didn't want pity or special consideration. I wanted normal relationships where people saw me as a person, not as someone with a chronic illness. "How long have you had it?" "Since I was 22. It was really bad for a long time. In and out of hospitals. Uncertain prognosis. There were years where Michael didn't know if I was going to make it. Years where every phone call might be the one telling him I'd gotten worse." I felt something cold settling in my stomach. "I didn't know. Obviously, because if you'd known, you might have understood why Michael drops everything when I call. Why he's protective of me. Why he prioritizes my needs sometimes. It's not that he loves me more than you. It's that he spent years terrified of losing me, and he never wants me to feel alone or unsupported. Why didn't anyone tell me? I told them not to. I wanted you to like me for who I am, not feel sorry for me because of what I have. I wanted a real relationship with my sister-in-law, not one based on pity. But if I'd known, I would have understood why Michael. Would you? Or would you have resented me even more for having a legitimate reason for Michael's attention?" The question hung between us, and honestly, I didn't know the answer. Would understanding have made me less resentful? Or would it have just made me feel guilty for being resentful? Claire stood up and walked to the window, looking out at our backyard. "Michael asked me to make a decision. He said he's too hurt and too angry to think clearly about what happens next, so he's letting me decide." "Decide what?" She turned to face me. "Whether you stay or whether you go. He said he'll abide by whatever I choose. If I think your marriage is worth saving, he'll try to work through this with you. If I think you've crossed a line that can't be uncrossed, he'll file for divorce and ask you to move out. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. He's letting you decide whether we stay married. Not whether you stay married, whether you stay in this house, whether he comes back here to try to work things out, or whether he asks you to leave so he can move forward without you. That's insane. He can't just outsource our marriage decisions to you. He's not outsourcing anything. He's making a point. You said you picked the wrong sibling, so he's letting that sibling decide your fate. He's showing you what it actually means to prioritize me over you. This is manipulation. Maybe it is, or maybe it's just consequence. You said something unforgivable in the most public way possible. Now you have to face what that actually means. Claire moved toward the door, then paused. I need a few days to think about this. Michael said I should take as long as I need. In the meantime, you should think about what you actually want. Do you want to stay married to Michael? Do you want to work on your relationship? Or was your comment actually true? And this marriage has been over for a while. She left before I could respond. I sat alone in my living room, trying to process what had just happened. My husband was letting his sister decide whether our marriage continued. The sister I'd resented for years. The sister I'd compared myself to constantly. The sister I'd publicly humiliated. That sister now held my entire future in her hands. The irony was so sharp it hurt. Over the next week, I spiraled. I called Michael's phone multiple times a day. He never answered. I sent long text messages explaining myself, apologizing, begging for a chance to talk. He didn't respond. I tried reaching out to his parents. They said this was between Michael, Claire, and me, and they couldn't get involved. I was completely cut off from any way to defend myself or explain my perspective. I was just waiting for Claire to render her verdict on my life. I talked to my friends about the situation. They were split down the middle. Half thought Michael was being psychologically manipulative, that this whole thing was a red flag, that letting his sister decide our marriage fate was weird and controlling. Half thought I absolutely deserved whatever I got for making such a cruel comment in such a public setting. My sister thought the entire situation was bizarre. He's letting Claire decide if he divorces you. That's not normal, Rachel. That's weird and unhealthy, and honestly kind of disturbing. Or it's him making a point, I said, echoing Claire's words, showing me what it means to actually prioritize her over me. Do you hear yourself? You're defending this. I'm trying to understand it. You should be angry. You should be outraged that your husband is playing these psychological games instead of just talking to you like an adult. But I wasn't angry. I was scared, because I was starting to realize that maybe I had said something truly unforgivable. Maybe there are some lines you can't cross, some words you can't take back, some moments where you reveal something about yourself that can't be unrevealed. I'd told my husband's family that I regretted marrying him, that I'd picked the wrong person, that his sister was somehow a better option than he was. No matter how I tried to reframe it or explain it or contextualize it, those were the words that had come out of my mouth. That was the message everyone had received, and now I had to live with the consequences. My friend Jenny came over on day 6 to check on me. I looked terrible, hadn't showered in days, living in the same sweatpants, eating cereal for every meal because I couldn't bring myself to cook. "This is bad," Jenny said, looking around at the mess my house had become. "You need to pull yourself together. My marriage is ending and I can't do anything about it. How am I supposed to pull myself together?" "By acknowledging that you caused this, by taking responsibility instead of waiting for Claire to save you." "I did take responsibility. I apologized." "Did you? Or did you just explain why you said what you said? Because those aren't the same thing." I thought about all the messages I'd sent Michael, all the explanations, all the context, all the justifications for why I'd felt the way I felt and said what I'd said. Jenny was right. I hadn't actually apologized. I'd just explained myself. "What do?" I asked. "You wait for Claire's decision, and if she gives you another chance, you actually change. Not just apologize, but actually work on whatever made you say something like that in the first place." On day 8, Claire came back. She sat in the same spot on our couch. I sat in the same chair, feeling like this was a trial, and I had no defense attorney. "I've thought about this carefully," Claire said. "I've talked to Michael multiple times. I've talked to our parents. I've thought about what's best for everyone involved." "And?" My voice was barely more than a whisper. "I think you should stay." Relief flooded through me so intensely I actually started crying. Thank you, Claire. I promise I'll—" "Let me finish," she interrupted. "I think you should stay because I think you and Michael need to have real conversations about what's been happening in your marriage. I think you both have valid feelings that haven't been properly addressed, and I think you deserve a chance to explain yourself properly and to work through this together. But I also think you owe everyone a real apology, not an explanation, not a justification. An actual apology where you acknowledge that what you said was hurtful and inappropriate, regardless of your underlying feelings or frustrations. I can do that. And I think we need to establish boundaries. I didn't realize I was coming between you and Michael. I didn't realize my presence was causing problems. So we need to figure out how we can all coexist in a way that doesn't make you feel secondary or make me feel like I'm damaging your marriage. "I never thought you were damaging anything," I said quietly. "I just wanted to feel like I mattered as much as you do to Michael. You matter more. You're his wife. You're his partner. You're the person he chose to build a life with. But he's also traumatized by almost losing me. So when I need him, he goes into protection mode. It's not about you being less important. It's about him being terrified of losing someone he loves." "I understand that now." Claire stood up. "I'm going to call Michael and tell him he can come home. But Rachel, if you ever say something like that again, if you ever humiliate him or suggest you regret marrying him or compare him unfavorably to me, I won't tell him to give you another chance. I'll tell him to leave and never look back. This is your one opportunity to fix this. Don't waste it." After she left, I sat alone with my thoughts. Claire had chosen to give me another chance. Now I had to be worthy of it. An hour later, Michael came home. He looked exhausted, like the past week had aged him years. Dark circles under his eyes, face drawn, shoulders slumped. We stood in our living room, facing each other across what felt like an impossible distance. "Claire said I can stay," he said quietly. "I know, she told me. Do you want to stay?" "Yes, of course yes, more than anything." "Even though you picked the wrong sibling?" There was no humor in his voice, just pain. "I didn't mean it that way, Michael. I swear I didn't. I didn't mean I wanted to be with Claire romantically. I meant that I wanted the version of you that shows up for Claire to show up for me too. I wanted to feel prioritized and seen and important. I do prioritize you. You're my wife. Not always, not in the ways that matter. You've been so focused on protecting Claire, on making sure she's okay, that you've neglected our marriage. You've taken me for granted because I'm stable and strong, and you didn't think I needed you the way she does." He was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was thick. "You're right. I haven't been fair to you. I've been so worried about Claire, so afraid of losing her again, that I've let our relationship suffer. I've assumed you'd always be there, always understand, always forgive me for putting her first. I do understand. Now that I know about her lupus, I understand why you're protective. But Michael, I need you too. I need to feel like your wife, not like I'm competing with your sister for your attention." I'm so sorry, but Rachel, what you said, you can't say things like that. You can't humiliate me in front of my family. You can't make me question whether you even want to be married to me. I know, and I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I said something horrible in a moment of frustration, and I hurt you in ways I can't take back. We stood there, both of us crying, both of us broken by what had happened, but still reaching for each other across the divide. "Claire told me about her lupus," Michael said finally, "about how she asked everyone not to tell you. I should have told you anyway. I should have made you understand why I am the way I am with her. And I should have communicated better instead of letting resentment build until it exploded. Can we fix this? Michael asked, his voice small and uncertain. I think so, if we both really try, if we go to therapy, if we establish better boundaries with Claire, if we learn to communicate before things get to crisis points. Michael moved toward me slowly, carefully, like we were both made of glass. When we finally hugged, I felt him shaking, felt my own tears soaking into his shirt. I don't want to lose you, he whispered into my hair. You won't. I'm here. I'm staying. And I'm going to do better. The next week, we went to dinner at Michael's parents' house, the same setting where everything had fallen apart. Everyone was there. His parents, Claire, us. Before we ate, I stood up. My hands were shaking, but I'd rehearsed this. I need to apologize, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. What I said last week was cruel and inappropriate and unforgivable. I was frustrated about feeling overlooked in my marriage, but that doesn't excuse what I said or how I said it. Michael didn't deserve to be humiliated like that. Claire didn't deserve to be put in that position, and all of you didn't deserve to witness it. Michael's mother nodded slowly. His father still looked uncomfortable, but less hostile than he had. Claire gave me a small smile of encouragement. I didn't mean I wanted to be with Claire romantically, I continued. I meant that I wanted Michael to show up for me the way he shows up for her. I wanted to feel prioritized and valued. But I expressed that in the absolute worst possible way, and I'm truly, deeply sorry. We appreciate the apology, Michael's mother said carefully. We understand that all marriages go through difficult periods. We just want both of you to be happy and healthy. We're working on it, Michael said, reaching for my hand under the table. We're going to therapy. We're learning to communicate better. We're establishing healthier boundaries. The dinner was awkward but not hostile. Small steps toward normal, tiny movements toward forgiveness. After dinner, Claire pulled me aside into the kitchen while we were cleaning up. That was a good apology, she said. Thank you for doing that. It needed to be said, and Claire, I really am sorry. Not just for what I said at dinner, but for resenting you all this time. You didn't do anything wrong. You were just being yourself, and I turned that into something negative. I'm going to work on boundaries too, Claire said. Not because you were right to resent me, but because I don't want to be the thing that causes problems in your marriage. Michael and I talked. We're going to have one weekly dinner together, just the two of us. Beyond that, I'm going to give you guys more space unless there's a real emergency. You don't have to do that. I do, though, because what you said, even though it was hurtful, made me realize something. I have been too dependent on Michael. I've been using him as my emotional support system in ways that maybe aren't fair to his marriage. That's not healthy for anyone. It's not about you being dependent. It's about me learning to communicate my needs instead of letting resentment build into explosions. It's both things, Claire said. We can both work on our parts of this dynamic. The following months brought slow, gradual healing. Michael and I started couples therapy and worked on communication patterns. We learned to express frustration before it became rage. We learned to prioritize our marriage without completely excluding his family. Claire actually started dating someone, a guy from her gym who seemed kind and made her genuinely happy. As her romantic relationship developed, she naturally needed Michael less, which created more breathing room in our marriage. Michael's parents slowly forgave me. It took time, but eventually, they stopped looking at me like I was the woman who'd wounded their son and started treating me like family again. But that comment never fully disappeared. Even now, months later, I sometimes catch Michael looking at me with sadness in his eyes. I know he's remembering that dinner, remembering me saying I picked the wrong sibling, remembering how that felt. And there's nothing I can do except keep showing him every single day that I didn't mean it, that I chose him, that I choose him still. Claire and I are actually close now, real friends. not just in-laws connected by marriage. We get coffee together, just the two of us. We talk about life and work and relationships. She's genuinely wonderful, and I understand why Michael loves her so much. But I also still think about what she said, about how Michael let her decide whether I stayed or went, about how my marriage hung on her verdict. Some people think that was manipulative, that Michael was playing power games or punishing me. Maybe they're right, but I think it was Michael showing me, in the most concrete way possible, what my words actually meant. I'd suggested Claire was the better choice, so he let her be the one to choose. He held up a mirror to my statement and made me see what it really implied. Was it harsh? Yes. Was it effective? Absolutely, because I will never make a comment like that again. I will never casually suggest I regret my marriage. I will never compare Michael unfavorably to his family in ways that imply I wish I'd made different choices. Not because I'm afraid of consequences, but because I genuinely understand now how much words can wound. How deeply careless statements can cut. How much damage you can inflict in a moment of frustration. Words matter, context matters too, but words matter more. My marriage survived. It's different now, scarred but stronger. We communicate better. We prioritize each other more deliberately. But there's still a wound that healed but left a mark, and I'm the one who caused it. I didn't pick the wrong sibling, but I almost lost the right one, and that's something I'll carry forever.